ready for anything. But Vegas, you are not ready. Not for the hits, not for the noise, and certainly not for the rockers. The Las Vegas Rockers take the field April 18th. Season tickets on sale now. Vegas is not ready.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show, Rockers Unplugged. I'm your host, Braden, also known by my YouTube name, BD One and Only. Today is the last show where you'll have just a singular host, because next week I'm bringing on a new host. His name's Rob, and he's awesome. So get excited for that. But today we're just going to talk about some of the new player signings, as well as the Rockers schedule. So I'm looking forward to that. And anytime you guys want to chime in and jump in the chat and talk, feel free to, and I'll read as many chats as I can. So we have quite a few new player signings that I'm excited to talk about, and we'll go over them. So the first one we have to talk about is we have Chris Simon, who's a linebacker. He's 6'5", weighs 320 pounds, and he played college football at South Carolina State. So for a linebacker, he's big, 320 pounds. That's more like a defensive lineman. So I'm assuming he's going to be kind of an edge rusher type of guy, rather than a linebacker who drops back in coverage, which is good to have. It's good to have those edge rusher guys that can put pressure on the quarterback, especially when it comes to arena football, because arena football is, like I said, a lot different than outdoor football. And so having a edge rusher is good to put pressure on the quarterback. Next is MJ Harris. He's a wide receiver. He's 6'2", 180 pounds, and he comes out of Arizona State University. He's going to bring speed and athleticism to the wide receiver room. He's a lot smaller in terms of size than a lot of other wide receivers, but that just means that he's going to be quicker on the field. 180 pounds is a lot more slim, but I think that he's going to be able to get behind the defense a lot better. And then we have LaShawn Bell. He's an edge rusher. Bell played college football right here in Las Vegas, so he's already known to football fans in the area. He stands at 6'4" and weighs 245 pounds, and he's originally from Thousand Oaks, California. Now in high school, he was a 3-year letter winner, and was considered a 3-star recruit by Rivals.com. And if you don't know Rivals is one of the premier recruiting services. You got 247, you got Rivals, and you got Max Preps are the three main ones. So Rivals, one of those three main ones. So if he's considered a 3-star recruit, then you know that he's legit. You know, he's one of those guys that definitely had his pick of Division I schools that he could have went to, because even the top schools will recruit 3-star guys. So you got to realize too, he definitely had a lot of options coming out of high school, but he did choose UNLV right here in Vegas. So he's a local kid that is used to the area. He chose UNLV, and he had offers from Washington State, Arizona State, and Oregon State. So a couple of Power 5 schools, or a few Power 5 schools. And so he definitely was highly recruited. And Michael Klein says, "Hello, Braden. Greetings from Dusseldorf." Hi, Michael. I'm so glad to see you in here. It always makes me happy to see your name pop up. It's good seeing you, Michael. So he chose UNLV, and he was rated the number 77 overall player in the class of 2020 by Rivals. And as a junior in high school, he recorded more than 100 tackles and had 24 sacks. 24 sacks in a high school season is insane, because typically high schools play anywhere from 10 to 12 games, not as many as the NFL. So if you have 24 sacks, that's pretty impressive. I think last year, Myles Garrett from the Browns had 25 sacks, and that's a 17-game season. So to have 24 sacks in a way shorter season just shows how athletic this guy really is. So he went to UNLV, and he didn't play in his freshman campaign, but in his sophomore campaign, He recorded 60 tackles and 7 sacks. And so this guy is someone who he has experience and he has leadership abilities. He can command a defense and get everyone on his side and willing to do what it takes to stop the offense. So you love to see that out of a defense. Next up, we have Aiden Hemphill. He's a defensive lineman, and he's 6'5", 290 pounds, and he comes to us out of Texas State. So Texas State, they're a Sun Belt school. They're FBS, but they're kind of lower FBS. They're Sun Belt Conference, so not a super prestigious conference, but nonetheless still a Division I player. He's also played for the Indianapolis Colts. I believe he played in the preseason for them a little bit, and he will bring intensity to the defense, to the defensive line. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Michael Klein says WrestleMania and Rockers home game, Las Vegas City rocks on this day. Yes, sir, it does. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania too. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, Las Vegas it's starting to get more recognition when it comes to big events. I mean, prior to the Las Vegas Knights coming to town, there wasn't really a whole lot of professional sports outside of UFC that was played there. There was here and there you would have, a preseason NBA game or a preseason NFL game or whatever. But now you're starting to really have major events there. And the UFC figured it out a long time ago. The UFC figured out Las Vegas was great years ago, but now everyone else is catching on. You're seeing the NFL, you're seeing the NBA, you're seeing all these different leagues. Now we're having Major League Baseball that's going to be happening in Las Vegas. I just saw the other day they actually are working on the ballpark for the Oakland Athletics. Now it's going to be Las Vegas Athletics, obviously. But it's right where the Tropicana Hotel and Resort used to be. They tore that down, and now they're building a ballpark. So if you're familiar with Vegas, it's just right off the strip. It's just right on the strip. So honestly, Vegas is a great destination, and it's a great sports destination too. You can pretty much do anything you want to do in Las Vegas, and now that includes sports too. So that's really awesome. Next player that we have to talk about is Tye Martin, and he's a defensive back. So he's going to be in the secondary. And the secondary, we haven't had a whole lot of guys up to this point that have been signed in the secondary. But this is someone who is a playmaker. He stands at 6'4", weighs 162 pounds, and he's speedy and able to do really well in either man or zone coverage. And so having a guy that's able to, adjust and do well in different coverage packages, that's pretty much integral to a good defense. You got to have, of course, you got to have a good defensive line. But when it comes to the secondary, it's especially important in arena football because they're going to be throwing the ball all over the field. It's a 50-yard field. They're going to be going for the deep bombs. And to have a guy that's able to keep up with the receivers and be able to handle those types of coverages, that's something that you got to have in arena football. Looks like we have a chat from Data H142. Do you have any players signed for the Slingers? Actually, yes, we do, and I'm glad you brought that up because when I go over the schedule, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the Slingers and because the Slingers are on the Rockers schedule. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Slingers, and I'm going to go over the players that they have signed that I know of. Next up, we have Dejon Warren. He's a defensive back. He stands at 6'1" and weighs 180 pounds, and he's a dynamic defensive back that brings speed and coverage ability to the Rockers secondary. So this is a guy who he doesn't necessarily have the height, but he has the speed to make up for it. And so he's another defensive back guy that's going to be able to drop back into coverage and be able to, break up passes. He's going to be able to cover receivers and all of that. Michael Klein says, how much players have the Rockers now? Is the roster now full? So it's not completely full. We're still signing players. But I would say we have about 15 to 20 at this point, at least that I know of. but I know that, of course, the general manager, Mark McMillan, he's going to be working to sign even more, and of course, Coach Hollywood, he's going to be signing more too. So we got a great team. Mark McMillan, for those of you who don't know, is a former NFL player, and now he's the GM of the Rockers. And so having a guy who has been around the NFL and is able to evaluate talent like that is going to be a huge bonus for the Rockers for sure. And so, yeah, I would anticipate within the next 3 to 4 weeks we should have the roster full, because the season kicks off in, let's see now, it's April 18th is when the season kicks off, and so we're looking at just under 2 months now. It's getting close, and it's crazy because when I was brought on here, I was brought on in, I want to say September. It seemed like it was so far away, and I'm like, man, I can't wait for the season to start. It seems like it's so far away, and now we're like right here. We're like right here, and so I'm excited. And also, I just added a new live stream schedule too. I'll be streaming Wednesdays now for those of you who are interested. Me and Tom, the COO, yeah, that's the official title. I'm sorry, COO of the league, Tom Mitchell. Me and him will be doing a show every Wednesday. So catch me on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3 times a week. If you enjoy seeing this beautiful face right here, catch me 3 times a week. So next player we have Kevin Short, defensive back. Short is 6'3" and 187 pounds, and he brings ball hawking energy to the Rockers secondary. Now this is a guy who he went to Kansas for college ball. Kansas Jayhawks, for those of you who are familiar with college ball, they play in the Big 12. And then he went to the Kansas City Chiefs as an undrafted free agent, and he spent time with the Chiefs too. So obviously, if you're good enough to make the Chiefs roster, think about how good the Chiefs have been for the past 7-8 years, ever since they begun that dynasty, with Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. If you're good enough to make the Chiefs roster, the Chiefs have won multiple Super Bowl championships within the last decade. If you're good enough to make that roster, you're pretty good. And so he spent some time with the Chiefs, and now he's going to be playing for our hometown, Las Vegas Rockers, bringing NFL experience, and not just NFL experience, but Super Bowl experience. I don't think he was on the team at the time that they won the Super Bowl, but nonetheless, he has been around that culture of winning. And so he knows what it takes to win, and he knows what it takes to be able to change a team. And I think especially when it comes to football, having a culture of winning is almost just as important as having the best talent that you could possibly get. Because I'll tell you why. Because when you talk about, for instance, talent, you can have all the talent in the world, but if the players aren't bought in, it's just not going to work out. And I talked a little bit about this with Mr. Syed Burley too, who's the coach of the Utah Grade 8s. I talked to him about this on stream a little bit, but basically he was saying that to be able to get everyone on the same page, it's a very difficult task. And so if everyone comes in with the attitude of winning, it's going to be a whole lot easier to get them to buy in to a winning culture. And so I think that's important. And especially as we watch these Rockers, we obviously hope that, we win a championship year one. But the thing about it is a multi-year process. So I want them to win a championship year one. But if we can build a culture of winning for long sustained success, I think that's going to be more valuable than just a flash in the pan. We win it, we're done, And so if we can build a dynasty and be honestly one of the league's first ever dynasties, I think that it's going to be something to look back on and be like, hey, we knew this coming in. All of us fans who have been watching the live streams, who have been chatting on the message boards, who have been looking on Facebook for updates, we knew that we could do this. Michael Klein says, too bad Diego Irelis won't be playing for the Warriors. He's injured. That's I hadn't actually heard about that, but if he is injured, I am hoping for a speedy recovery for Mr. Irelis. And honestly, yeah, as far as the Warriors go, I haven't seen a whole lot about them, to be honest. I've been like really locked in on the grade eights and the Rockers, but I'll for sure look into that. It's yeah, I hadn't heard that he was injured, but I do hope that he has a speedy recovery. So the next player to talk about is Mustafa Majid. He's a defensive back. Majid is an explosive defensive back and has playmaking ability. He went to college at Clark University in Atlanta, Georgia, where he built a reputation as a playmaker. So he doesn't have D1 experience, but I believe Clark University is D3. So he has experience at a high level of football. Whether it's D1, D2, or D3, it's a high level of football. I think I heard somewhere, and I could be wrong about this statistic, but only around 0.03% of high school athletes will play their chosen sport in college. So it doesn't matter if you're D1, D2, D3, you're still playing at a high level. And the fact that he was able to build a reputation as a playmaker in college just goes to show that he is legit. He's a legit good defensive back. And now that we're getting all these guys signed in the secondary, it's going to be, we're going to have a lot of guys who are able to make plays. I mean, it's going to be tough to pass against us for sure. And now let's get into, let me bring it up. I have the schedule and all the notes for the schedule written down. We'll talk about the schedule. Sorry, guys, just give me a moment. All right, so I'm going to go over the home games first, and then I'm going to talk about some away games on the road that we should keep an eye out for. So April 18th, that's the opener. That's the home opener against the Pennsylvania Benjamins. Maybe Jason can pull up on screen a graphic of the Pennsylvania Benjamins, but they are based out of Reading, Pennsylvania, and they'll be traveling to Las Vegas to play the Rockers. The Benjamins will roll into town for the season opener on April 18th, and they have been making some buzz too around the league as far as their player signings go. Their GM Greg Fernario has been signing players left and right, and players that I know of that have been signed for sure include Jalen Green, who's a defensive lineman out of James Madison University, and that's looks like that's it. But they have been making some buzz as far as trying to get their team going. So it's going to be a good game, and I anticipate too that it's going to be probably a close game. You know, both teams are going to be trying to figure it out in a new league, figure out their offense, figure out their defense, and so I'm looking forward to it personally, and I hope we get the dub. So then we will go on the road for a month, but when we come back to Las Vegas, May 31st, we will be having our first international team coming to Las Vegas, and that will be the Stuttgart Stallions. The Stallions have been busy signing players for the past few weeks. That includes linebacker Nicholas Supa and a utility player named Lyron Schronman. For those who don't know what a utility player is, it's a player that can play multiple different positions. The one I always like to think of is Taysom Hill, who played for my BYU Cougars in college, and then he went to the Saints in the NFL. And he can play tight end, he could play quarterback, he can play running back, he can play receiver, and so that's kind of what a utility player does. Is they kind of fit where they're needed, and so Lyron Schronman is going to be one of those utility players for us. And it will be the first time, like I said, that the Rockers are hosting a team from outside the United States. Stuttgart is a team that's in the European Conference, of course. We're in the United States Conference. And so we'll be welcoming Stuttgart and their fans to Las Vegas. Michael Klein says, do you know how many season tickets have been sold so far for the Rockers? That I do not know, but I do know tickets are being sold. I do know they're kind of flying off the shelves recently. Tom Mitchell has been doing a great job at he's been doing a great job at uh, promoting. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, promoting the tickets and promoting the experience. But I would like to see more fans buy season tickets because of the fans win too. If we win the championship, guys, and this is a big if, but I believe in us. If we win the championship, those who have season tickets will have them renewed for the following season for free. So I would encourage anyone to get season tickets, anyone in the Las Vegas area, whether you're in Las Vegas, Henderson, anywhere nearby, um, get tickets. Get tickets. Even if you're in the Moapa Valley, just get tickets because it's a fun thing to do for the family. It's fun to do for dates. It's fun to do if you have your parents in town and you want to entertain. It's fun for that. And so get your tickets and get season tickets too. They're a lot cheaper than NFL tickets. Are a lot cheaper than even college football tickets. UNLV tickets are probably more expensive. So get this. It's fun, cheap entertainment, and it's a good time. So next up on June 6th, we have the Arizona Juggernauts coming to town. And the Juggernauts are a team that I could see us developing a rivalry with, not just because of proximity, but because of past rivalries that have gone on between the Arizona Rattlers and Las Vegas Rampage, which was in the original Arena Football League. And so I honestly can see that type of energy and those fans that used to cheer for those teams coming out to support the Juggernauts and the Rockers and it becoming a rivalry. And so Arizona has been one of the most active IAL teams this offseason, signing numerous players and staff members as well. They are led by head coach Jay Allen, also known as Coach OTB, and he's been going crazy with the player signings. I honestly think that the Juggernauts are going to be a powerhouse in this league. They're going to be one of the better teams because they've just been signing players like crazy. So far, they've signed defensive back Rasheed Hodge Jr., center Demetrich Anderton, and defensive back Arian Penton, who actually Maxi Penton actually came out of retirement to play. For those of you who don't know, he used to play for the Massachusetts Pirates, and then he transitioned into a coaching role with the Pirates. And so Arian Maxon Penton, for all intents and purposes, his playing days were behind him. But Jay Allen came in and he said, "Hey, you know what? I think you still got some stuff left in the tank. Why don't you come play for the Juggernauts?" And he agreed. And so the Juggernauts have brought this guy out of retirement, one of the better players to play in the indoor football league, and now he's going to be a Juggernaut. And so honestly, that makes me nervous as a Rockers fan. Having to pass against a defensive back like that is going to be no easy task. And I don't know if we're going to be starting Arvell Nelson or Eric Phoenix. That's an interesting quarterback battle to keep your eye on. But either one of those guys, I think, can handle it. But at the same time, it's not going to be easy. I tend to think that Coach Hollywood will start Eric Phoenix. He's the younger guy. He did really good in college. And so I think that Eric Phoenix will start. But there is always that chance that Arvell Nelson starts too, or that they do a two quarterback system. Who knows? I'm not a real big fan of two quarterback systems, but of course, if Coach Hollywood thinks that that's what's best, then I guess that is what's best. And so, the Juggernauts, when they come to town, they're gonna have our hands full as Rockers fans. I think that there's gonna be a lot of fans that travel up to Vegas to watch the team. It's gonna be loud, and it's going to be an exciting game too. I could see it being a very high-scoring game too. Both teams have plenty of talent, and honestly, the Juggernauts are already looking like they're one of the best teams in the league at this point. Between the Rockers and the Juggernauts, players have been getting signed like crazy, and I think that the Rockers might have slightly more players signed than the Juggernauts, but even still, the Juggernauts have been signing players like crazy. And now the Cincinnati Slingers. Someone asked before about this, what players have been signed for the Cincinnati Slingers, and I'm here to tell you. So first, let me say that they're led by head coach Sean King, and they're another team that has been busy with signing staff and players. So the team's GM is Adrian Ross, and he brings a ton of experience to the Rockers organization, and the team has signed offensive lineman Jacoby Smith, and so far that's all I know. But Jacoby Smith is someone who I believe he played D2 ball. I could be wrong about that, but that's the only player I know of. But they have signed staff and players, so their team has been busy, and they've been trying to get their team together as well, just like every other team in the league. And then June 25th is another game that I think could be a great rivalry, the Utah Great Eights. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Utah, actually about 45 minutes outside of Salt Lake, where the Great Eights will be playing. They're playing at Maverick Center, which is a venue that I became very familiar with because I used to go to a lot of hockey games there. And so the Great Eights are going to be traveling down to Las Vegas and playing at Orleans Arena on June 25th against our Las Vegas Rockers. They're coached by Sia Burley, which those of you who watched the live stream that I did with Sia Burley know that Sia Burley's a serious dude. He is serious about building a good team. So these aren't going to be, this isn't going to be a pushover. It's not going to be an easy game by any means. Sia Burley holds the single season receiving record in arena football, and now he's the coach. And he spent time as the head coach of the Jacksonville Sharks of the IFL too. And so this is a guy who knows what it takes to win. They've signed a ton of players so far, including a wide receiver, and also he plays defensive back. Alfonso Taylor plays both sides of the ball. He's from Arizona State. Defensive lineman Michael Neal, and former Packers wide receiver Jadakius Bonds. I hope I said that right. I apologize, Jadakius, if I butchered that. And then receiver Drayvon Macon, defensive lineman Armonte Carey, defensive back Damon Williamson, and fullback CJ Odom. So the Great Eights have been busy. They've been busy signing players. Nick Durst says, I would love to see the league add a team in Reno. The rivalry with Reno and Vegas gets crazy. I agree. I think it would be cool. I don't know what Tom's plans are for expansion teams, but I do agree. That would be awesome. That would be awesome to see a team in Reno for sure. And I honestly hope, Nick, I know you're a Utah guy like me. I hope that there's a good rivalry between the Great Eights and the Las Vegas Rockers. I honestly hope that it's like, I hope that it's like the Cowboys and the Eagles type of rivalry, or the Ravens and the Steelers type of rivalry, where it's one game that you circle on your schedule and you look forward to. And like I said, this team isn't going to be easy to play against. They have tons of great defensive players, a few good offensive players too, and so this is not going to be just an easy win by any means. Now let's go over some of the notable away games. May 5th, European vacation. The Rockers will be playing the England Eruptors on the road. So it will be the first time that the Rockers travel outside of the United States, and they'll be going to Nottingham to play the England Eruptors. And anytime you play a team on the road, it's going to be difficult, but especially when you play a team on the road in a different country. That's really difficult because you show up, you're jet lagged, you probably a lot of these guys first time ever going to a different country or ever going to Europe, and they show up and it's not going to be easy. So look for that game, and I really do hope that our players are able to adjust and get the W. May 17th will be at the Utah Great Eights. We'll be playing at the Maverick Center. And the Maverick Center is about 12,000 seats, but it feels like a lot more because it gets loud. Trust me, I've been to a lot of hockey games there, and the 12,000 fans, it seems more like 30,000 fans with how loud it gets. And so I expect that game to be tough, if nothing else, just because It's going to be noisy. It's going to be hard to call plays. It's going to be hard to communicate because of how noisy it gets. And a lot of you have heard me say Utah fans are the most dedicated sports fans in the entire world. That's true. I'll stand by that 100%. Utah sports fans are the most dedicated out of any other fan base ever. And so they're going to be loud and they're going to bring the energy. June 10th at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is another team I expect to be a strong presence in the league, and playing them on the road will not be easy either. And then July 4th on Independence Day, the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, the Rockers head east to play where much of our country's early history took place, Pennsylvania. Those of you some of you might not know this. The first capital of the United States was actually Philadelphia, not Washington, D.C. So that's where a lot of this country's early history took place, and how fitting that we play there on July 4th, the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. And we'll be playing the Pennsylvania Benjamins for the second time. This time it will be on the road. And once again, I think it's going to be a tough game. A lot of people are going to be off work on July 4th looking for something fun to do. And they're probably going to be showing up to the game. And it's going to be a hostile environment. A lot of fans cheering against the Rockers, but I do think that it's definitely a winnable game. Nick Durst says Utah grade 8's home of IAL's ninth man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The ninth man. 8-on-8 football, but for Utah, it's 9-on-8 because we got the ninth man. Yes, sir. So that's all the away games to keep an eye out for. And I'm running out of time here. We got more lives that are scheduled after this. But I do want to say thank you so much to those who showed up to watch. Thank you, Michael Klein, Nick Durst, everyone who asked questions, and everyone who participated in the live stream. Thank you so much. And with that, I will sign off.